Join us in a hard target search of every gas station, residence, warehouse, farmhouse, henhouse, outhouse, and doghouse as we hunt Harrison Ford in The Fugitive. Stay with us.
Get ready for the 3324 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff. And Eric, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast. Music, movies, guests, Eric. What more can we ask for? What more do you want out of this podcast?
I don't think anything. It's been great.
There we go. Right.
Great bunch of people we always have with us.
Yeah,
on the movie side,
a great pack.
Yeah,
a great mix, and that's always fun too. Is kind of putting all the names into a hat and shuffling them around, and then Roland puts that hat on, and we never get to pick anything. So he just grabs the hat and puts it on because he always wants to be wearing a hat.
Listen, I'm the one getting paper cuts. No one else. Okay.
Actually, for some odd reason, three of us are wearing baseball caps.
It's
not an assignment.
Yeah.
So, welcome aboard to the 3324 podcast. Find us on YouTube. If you are watching us on YouTube, there's a like button somewhere around there, and then there's a subscribe button somewhere around there. And take your finger, and if you're on your phone, and kind of dot it, or if you're watching on your computer, go ahead and hover your mouse over it. And please like and subscribe. It helps us. It helps us.
It does.
Why not help those who
helps us
help?
Grow, right?
Yeah.
Help me help you. Help me help you.
Help you.
We don't want the Quan. We want the subscription.
So we're gonna do Jerry Maguire now.
Yeah.
Segue.
Let's do it.
Special. We're gonna do. We're not doing The Fugitive. We're gonna do Jerry Maguire on the. We should do that like a Flash episode.
Hoodwinked.
Just change
Right?
it.
Yeah.
Just like kind of change it, or we spin a wheel and whatever movie comes up.
Why not?
I do
That's
that.
what we got to do.
Fine.
That would be fun.
Why not?
Yeah.
For tonight though, we're staying on the straight and narrow. We're gonna do The Fugitive. So let's start off with our first guest, Mr. Roland Arucci. Hasn't seen him in these parts recently, and I'm glad to have him back on the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate
He
it.
is the host, the founder of the feast, as it were, of the Ready Speaker podcast. You can find that on YouTube, and we'll make it easier for you too, because we'll drop a link in the show notes. So you can just click on that and go check out Roland. Very, very prolific. A couple of episodes per week. So he's out there grinding as well. So welcome back, Roland. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome, sir.
All right. Since we're going with the whole cap, let's go with Mr. Jerry Sullivan. How are you, Jerry?
Hello. I'm well. And you guys?
Doing good. Last seen on our
good.
Platoon
Excellent.
episode, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
No,
I believe.
you did one after that.
I did
Pearl
The
Jam?
Departed.
Departed.
Oh, The Departed. Okay, that was
You
after.
did The Departed?
Okay.
I cut you out. I thought I cut you out.
Apparently, I was not that not that
Not
good
that
at it,
impactful.
so
Yeah. I was like, yeah, you
That's
were?
cool.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
And of course, Ms. Christy Cuomo, welcome back from the Departed episode as well. I know that because Jack Nicholson was in the film, and Christy would not let an episode go by that he was in without
That is true. And I would like
busting
to
her way through the crowd and
wish him
pushing her way to
a
the front
very
of the
belated
podcast guest
birthday,
line.
April 22nd.
Yeah,
Jack Nicholson.
yeah,
Yes.
he's
85?
up there.
85, I think he turned. Yeah.
85.
85.
Yeah, people gave him shit because he woke up and went on his terrace. So
And then
then
he went to the Laker game.
That's
then he
called
went to the
living.
Yeah, there's footage of him going to the Laker game. That's right.
then he had to go to the Laker game and put on clothes and be like, "Look, I'm fine."
Jesus,
Wow,
and he
that's
gained a few pounds since
Well,
last we
yeah.
saw him.
He's earned it.
85.
He's,
He's allowed to.
He's 85.
Exactly.
He can do what he wants.
Loaded.
retire. He's smart. He's retiring. He's kind of calling it quits. Unlike Mr. Harrison Ford, who is in his 80s and continues to act.
Yeah.
And continues, and he's taking on the Indiana Jones role once again. So it's not like he's just doing roles where he's like the president sitting behind a desk. He's like still like being put through his paces.
Running and jumping and falling, as he likes to put it. Yeah,
I'm sure there's a good deal of stuntmen in that, but still, he's Harrison Ford is up for it. So
yeah.
We're going back to 1993 for The Fugitive. This was directed by Andrew Davis, who was better known for a film that came out the year before, Under Siege. With Steven Seagal and Tommy Lee Jones, oddly enough, which was known as which Die Hard started this cottage industry of pitching films as Die Hard on a, and Under Siege became known as Die Hard on a submarine.
Yeah.
So that whole way of pitching films and having a quick tagline of Die Hard on a or Die Hard in this, Under Siege was one of the first benefactors of that. It was Die Hard in a submarine. That's how you just describe it. Steven Seagal's a lowly cook. Yeah, okay. Probably eating more than anyway.
Sounds like a Beatles song.
Who then the submarine gets taken over by Tommy Lee Jones, terrorist, and he's got to save the day. The Fugitive had a $44 million budget. That's it. That's pretty paltry. $368 million box office in '93. That's a lot of dinero. Yeah. Especially a quote unquote smaller film like this. This is not a huge film when compared to like a Die Hard, like with set pieces and action things. There's one big action piece, and that only cost $1 million. Believe it or not, Jerry, this was nominated for 7 Oscars.
Well deserved.
Yeah, pretty prestigious to get 7 Oscar nominations,
including Best Picture.
Yeah, including Best Picture. Yeah. Go figure. They took home 1 Oscar, Mr. Tommy Lee Jones, which I think, in my estimation, because he was nominated 2 years before for his incredible work in JFK. And he should have won that year. That was the year that, I don't know if it was Pacino won or... No, not Pacino. Pacino was nominated also for Glengarry as a supporting actor, but Tommy Lee Jones should have taken the Oscar for that role. But he won this for his role as Samuel Gerard.
Deputy Samuel.
Deputy Samuel. I call him Samuel. Sam.
His friends call him Sammy, but I don't want to get into it. I talk to him at Sammy.
So this is... one of those films that is always one of my favorites, but I don't watch it too often. And then when I finally watched it again, and Eric and I started talking about it yesterday, and at the end of our episode, we started going into this episode. We got to stop. We got to save it.
Well, I think it was more impressions. I think we started doing.
We started doing the impressions.
No.
So we might. We may not have to do that tonight.
Can you go back?
I'm still gonna do them.
Of course you are.
Oh, I'm gonna do my Frederick Sykes impression. Of course,
Okay.
I handle security for all the top executives.
That sounds more like what's his name from Ferris Bueller.
What is this, a trench coat convention?
You better
tell me you're a cop.
Are you doing what's his name from Ferris Bueller, or are you doing?
He sounds a little bit like that. He sounds like Abe Froman, the Sausage King, a little bit.
It's fine.
Or Mr. or Alan Ruck's.
No, it's Alan Ruck's character
of Ferris Bueller's father. Anyway, Jerry, did you see this way back when in '93?
I can honestly say no, but I don't remember when I saw it. I think I remember seeing it many years later on a video cassette when I worked at a talent agency. Somehow it came across, and that's when I first saw it, and I thought it was amazing. Loved it from the get-go.
Yeah, it's just one of those ones. Christy, what about you?
I don't remember when I saw it. I definitely didn't see it in the theater, but it's anytime it's on, it's one of those. I'll watch it from any point. It's I'm in it to win it. It's on any scene. I love this movie. Yeah. All of its glory and flaws. I love this movie.
What flaw? There are no flaws in this film. Yeah, what are you talking about?
There's always flaws.
There's no flaws.
But that endears it more to you because you can look past it. It just shows the love. Like
no flaws, just applause.
I only dated attractive people. I don't know what this is.
What about you? In the theater? Was this one you caught way back?
I did see it in the theater because I'm an old bastard. And I remember seeing it was one of my first date movies with a wife who was attractive. And
whoa. Was? You said was.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, that year, it was pretty spot on.
93 was a good year.
She can't hear this. She doesn't watch this podcast.
I would not recommend her listening to this one.
Just edit that out, much like you edited
Dean doesn't edit anymore.
Let's see how it plays out. Leave it in. No, it was a great film. I remember
he'll have opportunities to make it up.
I'll tell you a story later if you want to hear it. It's actually,
Okay.
I have so many, get out of jail cards with her. It's great.
Sounds like a whole other episode.
Yeah, it's a whole other episode.
Jerry's talent agency years, which I was not aware of, and
I didn't know that either. Why did you have my headshot?
He totally dropped that one. I saw that. You dropped that mic and walked away.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that.
I was speaking to Leo DiCaprio, and we're like, look at the tape, and I didn't know what they had.
and then Jerry was Italian when he worked at the talent agency.
My biggest connection was hanging out with David Blaine before he got big.
Really? That's pretty sad.
It was really entertaining, though. That was the thing. Before he got big and weird.
Yeah,
he was one of the funniest people I've ever met.
Dean, maybe you want to edit that out for Jerry's benefit.
That's all I got.
That's all you got.
There's no
David Blaine said your services are no longer required, and he made you disappear. Here's my best trick of all, Eric. I know I didn't see it in the theater with you, but I guarantee you were there for it. You were in the theater.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
this was one of those
Harrison Ford, man. I mean, I pretty much saw every Harrison Ford movie in the theater.
Yeah. He was coming off of taking over Alec Baldwin's role as Jack Ryan. He was coming off of Patriot Games right before that. He was coming off of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And The Last Crusade in '89. He had done The Mosquito Coast, a couple other things. And then also took over another franchise, which would be Patriot Games that he would.
Always switching roles out. And Baldwin it happened a couple. I think Baldwin was up supposed to do this film.
He was up for it. Yeah.
And Harrison Ford got it from him as he did in Hunt for Red October.
I don't think Baldwin could have done the same work. I mean, I don't.
Nah.
It's like one of those. It's a rare film where I can say the lead. I can't picture anyone else playing this role.
Yeah.
Well, let me give you a couple of the what ifs that were like Eric said. Baldwin was one of the top choices. Nick Nolte.
Nah.
And he said no because he thought he was too old, but he was only a year older than Harrison Ford. He's got that rugged kind of thing. Back then,
Nick Nolte looks like a drinker.
Yeah, but I would not peg him as a doctor or surgeon.
Yeah, his hands were shaking from the drinking.
Harrison Ford.
Baldwin, yes.
Like a doctor.
Yes.
Baldwin, yes, but Baldwin would have played it snarky. He would have been like a sarcastic,
more raspy voiced.
Like too confident, too cool.
Him with Tommy Lee would have been a bad mix.
Yeah.
It would have been too
what
much
about Kevin
snarky.
Costner? What about Costner?
Too
maybe. He had the everyman thing going on there.
He did, but he's not vulnerable.
He's not that type of. He's not really that type of action star. In my opinion.
And the everyman wouldn't have worked.
And I love Kevin Costner. I just don't.
Yeah.
Like Harrison Ford being a doctor, you kind of obviously he was very well respected, so like he had to go from the top to the bottom being accused.
Right.
I've never seen Kevin Costner as a bottom.
Roland, I got wow.
Okay,
13 minutes and 5 seconds.
I went David Blaine and Costner's a bottom. I'm done.
Eric, I guess I will go back to editing this podcast.
I'm just glad it wasn't me. It was Roland.
We've got one more name, which I think he could have done it. Mm-hmm. Michael Douglas. Think of Michael Douglas in The Game, who got torn down to nothing, and he was on the streets and had to fend for himself. I think Michael Douglas could have done it
because his wife is too old in this movie. He needs him at least like 19 in his early career. Maybe. I do think the vulnerability of Harrison Ford, the other actors don't show.
Have pulled it off.
They're too ego. Their characters always have the sense of, I know I'm right. I know I can't go below a certain level. Where I felt in this film, the way Harrison Ford played it, that he was beaten at points, that he felt lost, and he felt like all this stuff. And it really came across for me, just to be serious about it.
He plays it well in his face.
Yeah, and there's emotion. There's a lot of energy and
there's a lot of physicality to what he does in every muscle of his body, not just throwing a punch or falling.
Yeah.
Well, Harrison Ford's a unique actor where with this or Indiana Jones, like he can, much like Roland said, he can have the vulnerability and still do the action and have a little bit of a comedic thing, be very likable without coming across as egotistical or snarky.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's a really, like, he's a very unique person, because he does it in Indiana Jones, he does it in this film,
Yeah.
where, and again, like Eric said, with his facial expressions, like where he uses his whole body. So it would be hard to, I think Douglas, because Dean, I agree with you, if you watch The Game, you can see a little bit of that. I don't think he does it as well as Harrison Ford, but he might, out of the group of names you said, he might have been the only one.
Yeah,
he was kind of playing those roles. Yeah. Michael Douglas was playing those roles of guys who were wronged, like Disclosure.
But
Fatal Attraction
so.
to a lesser extent, even though that character was a flawed character in Fatal Attraction, he was the guy that had a, it won't be ignored, Dan. That had someone pursuing him,
but he's always, but he always starts out playing the, he is more or less doing something wrong, right? And he's a scumbag. Yeah. But I think if Douglas would have played it maybe too intense. He's got, and it would have been more.
He's a yeller. He's much more of a yeller.
Exactly. It would have been coming out of his mouth rather than the physicality.
Yeah. And I think I think Douglas also layers his stuff with a layer of sexuality that you didn't need in this film.
Right.
And I think almost all of his roles, he has this sexuality that he puts in there.
We didn't need Richard Kimble coming on to the landlady.
Right. We didn't need that. Because, I mean, I've seen that movie.
Place okay with you? You like the
place? Funny enough, we were discussing that before the podcast, the Julianne Moore character, and why she's third. It's not. I always assumed she had a great agent.
She's fourth billed.
Fourth build. It's not because she had a great agent, because she was actually
Julianne Moore's fourth build.
She was in it more. She had a bigger part that got
much bigger part.
Like he was supposed to get interested in her.
Horrible.
Right. Again,
she still wasn't that big of a. Like if you look at her filmography, she still wasn't that big of a star.
No. But she did. I mean, look, she did have a good agent, but she had a much bigger role. Right. And I'm so glad that they cut out any romantic interest relationship with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this on A Few Good Men when it's like it ruins.
Yeah, it would have slowed it down.
It would have slowed it down. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
all right,
but it does speak to maybe some of the flaws, Christy, that you mentioned later on. I guess we'll get to that.
There are no flaws. No, we're not getting to any flaws.
Flaws
that you speak of.
No flaws.
We'll get there.
For Gerard, there were two names before Tommy Lee Jones. I'll just give you the last names because that's all you need. Hackman and Voight.
Hackman would have been cool.
Hackman, yes.
I could
definitely
see
Hackman.
Voight, I don't think so.
Hackman wouldn't have been so aggressive with it, I think. Like some of Gerard's, like the way he does things, Hackman would have been kind of more subdued, but I think he would have looked it would have looked really cool with him.
Yeah. Might have been a little too old, but I could absolutely see the scene where Harrison Ford's like, I didn't kill my wife, and he's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I can absolutely picture that coming out of Hackman's voice.
At the right timing.
I can picture Hackman in that scene
because he kind of does that type of thing in Enemy of the State, like that.
That's why he did Enemy of the State. Same director, isn't it? Or that he did Enemy of the State, I think, because he passed on this. It was in IMDb.
It showed it could have worked.
Yeah,
he was awesome.
Hackman could have handled it.
Hackman could have, but I love Tommy Lee Jones just because he's another unique type of actor where his snarkiness he's likable even though he's curmudgeon.
But again, keep in mind that in '93 though, Tommy Lee Jones wasn't anything big. Like he almost fluked his way into the Oscar nomination for JFK. But if you look at his filmography before that, he hadn't really done much. He was around. Everybody knew the name Tommy Lee Jones. But I think the Oscar nomination for JFK and then this role kind of that shot him into the stratosphere in the 90s because then all of a sudden Tommy Lee Jones was doing everything.
Everybody talked about him when this film came out.
Yeah,
and then
his rhythm, his delivery.
Yeah, then
which
all went downhill.
Which is odd, Dean, since he didn't have the clout to come into this film. He did a lot of the rewrites. He's not credited for it, but
everybody did. Really? Actually, the whole cast did. Harrison
Ford was very involved in this.
Yeah, but for Tommy, but Harrison Ford was established. Tommy Lee Jones to not be established and come in and be like, he wouldn't say that. He Ford about Renfro dying or staying alive. He had a lot of. He said a lot in this film behind the scenes.
Right. Well, you know what? You said that. Go ahead, Eric.
The script was pretty shoddy. I mean, I think they would I think they pretty much said they were kind of
All
making it up as they go.
Yeah, they had the train, I think, mainly.
And from what I understand, that some of the earlier drafts had like weird stuff, like Tommy Lee Jones' character actually hiring the one-armed man to kill Kimble because Kimble fucked up an operation on Gerard's wife.
That sounds
and he blamed Kimble, so he really wanted him like dead or alive, like more or less. And it was just like, what? No.
Mostly dead, it sounds like.
Yeah.
There was a very base framework, and pretty much, I think Jane Lynch, this was one of her early roles. She was Catherine.
Yes,
she said the right before we're shooting that scene, Harrison Ford and I are working on the scene and kind of figuring out what we're going to do. So they were literally every day in the morning trying to kind of suss out where the story was going, which is very interesting because this has so much tension to it.
It does.
That's built in that that would seem like you would need a lot of planning to know where you're going to have those beats of suspension, because you also have the fake beats of suspension when Harrison Ford is hitchhiking.
Yes.
Yeah. He gets picked up, and then the next scene is the marshals are like, okay, he's at the girlfriend's house, and you think they're going to pick him up, but they're actually going to get
after Copeland.
Going to get Copeland. So that is kind of like a tension and a release.
Yeah.
And then the scene when he's in the basement apartment and the cops come and they get the son who's a drug dealer. That's another tension and release. And I don't know how you're not planning for that.
Yeah. I think what they did, and this is on the rewatch, because I watched it with my sons actually, and so I was watching it, really looking at the beats and looking at the rhythm, and I think because this was based on such an iconic show, and that's probably why they fought with that script so much, to keep it true to the rhythm of the show. It's shot in that rhythm, that pacing, that tension. I mean, obviously it's longer, not that much longer, but I think that's probably what helped it a lot. This was so ingrained in them. They studied that show. It was I used to watch it as a kid. I remember it was on reruns on TV, and I watched it all the time.
Yeah.
And it felt true to that. So maybe that's what helped them sort of get to those beats and get to those displays of action.
Was the show just chasing one? I will admit, I've never seen it.
The show was very much like The Incredible Hulk, where it was like he was on the lam, but each episode he would meet somebody else. He would help that person
solve a problem,
and like Mando and like the Hulk, that kind of episodic thing. But boy, from what I understand, like the finale was like one of the best finales ever, because my mom was telling me like they finally, the one-armed man, it was like so many people tuned into that just to see how it ended. And
but even in this one, he helps the kid in the hospital.
Yeah.
And you see
they had to get that in there. They had to get that stuff in there.
And it worked really well. It worked really well.
It helped fill in the backstory of why, and one of the things that Roland famously says, and I was thinking about it during this episode, is that, this is a neighborhood film, and that's why it works too. It's not this epic scope of a cross-country chase and different locales,
right?
And trying to overreach the scope. It happens in Chicago. He comes back to Chicago. They know he's in Chicago, so it becomes this really claustrophobic cat and mouse game with actually two protagonists, because you should not be rooting for Gerard.
Yeah,
but he's so likable that you like Gerard and you like him chasing.
Yeah,
even though throughout most of the film he still wants to catch him, and he doesn't do that change until
right
3/4 of the way through. But you're still rooting for the quote unquote bad, one of the quote unquote bad.
With Harrison Ford being the bad guy, can you really root?
Well, he wasn't the bad guy. Harrison Ford's the hero because we know that he didn't do it. He's got to prove it. So the other guy is chasing him. But
I guess you're not rooting. You're not hating.
I was chasing them. Yeah.
I think it's hard to dislike Gerard and Kimble, because at least my interpretation is Tommy Lee Jones kind of like, as things start happening, he's like, he starts questioning like the behavior of Harrison Ford's character. Like, why would where's he going in an ambulance? Why would he?
Yeah.
Why would he hang out in a hospital? Like, and and you see him thinking like, this isn't normal fugitive behavior. A fugitive leaves. They flee. They don't come back to the scene of the crime. They don't come back. They don't hang out in a hospital with this guy. So
and he asks what happened to the boy.
For me, it become I root for him because even I mean I know the outcome. I know that he's going to figure out because he's not just like these Chicago cops saying he killed a cop, he's guilty. He's looking. He has the ability to step outside of this frame and look at the whole picture, and that's why I think we're able to not dislike him. We're rooting for him to figure it out.
Just doing his job, like when the famous line of "I don't care." His only concern is I'm catching a fugitive. That's it.
Don't want to hear your story.
I think it's also
he decidedly becomes a more of a detective. Than a bounty hunter with a badge.
Well, he's White Earp.
So
we're shutting it down.
But like Christy said, that's when you start to to really like the guy because he's going out of his comfort zone of investigating all these other side things. He's following in Kimble's footsteps. He's going he
reopens the file.
Right. He goes into
looks for the one-armed man.
Looks for the one-armed man. He goes into the So
Roland, I have a question for you.
Sure.
How did the Chicago Police Department ever allow this film to get made?
I have no idea. They look like
the Chicago PD looks like the worst bunch of.
I'll tell you. You get a couple of deep dish pizzas and they'll do anything, these guys.
They look like the most closed-minded police department. Like they didn't care to investigate.
No, I know. I read
financially, you're not going to be hurting.
12-year-old McAllen's getting donated to
like they never did a turn. Like they were always, you got the shot, you take them out. It's like
when this was airing, when I was watching my son, I told him, nowadays you could never do this. Because the police force, wherever it's being shot, would have riots.
Yeah, they would not
show cops like this.
Show them like this.
I think what they were trying to show, other than Chicago police officers being awful at their jobs, is that brotherhood. And in '93, we look at it. If you look at it from the 2023 scope, it's a little bit different. But from 1993, that blue brotherhood of like, oh, he shot a cop, he's going down. They don't care. And in 1993, that was a reality. You got away with it. Like Roland said, you couldn't get away with it today, but in 1993, you got away with a lot more shit.
Absolutely, No, absolutely. They were not. That's when filmmakers were actually questioning authority, and they came out of the 70s, started looking at all these movies that sort of questioned the authority or the tactics. And I think also with these two characters, I mean, the big thing with me was that yes, they. He's evolving sort of in the thing, but I think it actually runs a little deeper where they both have a level of integrity that the other characters don't. And that's actually, I think, what gets them. Like Kimble's a guy, I save lives. I don't kill wives. Which I know that rhymes, but put it on a shirt.
Yeah.
That'd be a great doctor shirt. I save lives. I don't kill wives.
Save lives, don't kill wives.
Yeah. So, but see, that's how I get my wife. They'll be back in the house. I say that stuff.
One foot in.
Low bar.
Yeah, it's always. I'm a short man.
It's a bar,
really
though.
It's really 5'8" is a bar. That's it. We'll have drinks later. But and then you have Tommy Lee Jones, and he is saying why he's questioning all these things, and people are force feeding him the information and trying to ram it down his throat of like, no, he's guilty, just get it done. Why you in my jurisdiction? Everybody's complaining to him, and he has a level of integrity saying, no, nothing fits. Mm-hmm. This doesn't fit.
Roland, how much integrity does Dr. Richard Kimble have? He goes into Mr. Johnson's room, steals his clothes, the wallet's in there, takes his egg sandwich.
I know, but he took the old clothes.
Doesn't even look back. And nothing for
how
nothing.
How do you know he didn't write a note saying thank you?
The nurse.
How do you know?
The nurse is having a whole conversation with Mr. Johnson. I think Mr. Johnson's dead.
Yes.
He's filling his water. He's like, you hydrate now. And the guy's like...
There's also a lot of things like that. The one thing I noticed in this movie is I've never seen so many like coincidences. Like he finds a room that has the shaving kit, all this stuff.
No infections, no razor bumps, nothing.
Well, he does. He actually does have a few cuts.
The timing of when he's in the basement apartment and the guy gets arrested, which leads to them knowing that he's in Chicago. Like all these Or even when they're both in the jail and Tommy Lee Jones is going up the stairs and he's going down the stairs.
Yeah.
Like there's so many like coincidences.
But that's
okay, Gary. I have something. This is what I wrote.
They're meat cutes.
Yes.
No, this movie it's fantastic but plausible, meaning they don't stretch it so far.
I totally agree.
That they're out on a limb. It's this, all of this stuff is very possible and plausible. You know, maybe the only thing that's not is diving off the spillway, right? Like that's probably the most fantastic stretch. Everything else is not really a stretch because we talked about other films where in Heat, where Robert De Niro hides in plain sight. He walks into a hotel, steals a security guard outfit because people just aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
Well, they did that in this too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You could pretty much. I think you could
kind of plausible.
He was Desmondo.
That he could hide in plain sight.
Well, yeah, like Dean's saying, like this is the kind of movie where you could theoretically explain every step of the way.
And back then, like if we're going back in time, security was different. I will give you a story. Yeah. Only 2 people are allowed to visit, newborn babies in hospitals when somebody has a baby. So I knew that we are a big family. So I always made sure I said I was the delivery guy for flowers. There you go. So I get into the hospital with no pass.
You didn't
go
pretend
wherever
to be the
you
janitor?
want. I go delivering these. I think I would mispronounce the last name, Tuminaj. I butcher the last name. And I don't know. I think it's a maternity. And I go upstairs, and that'll be it.
Did you rebuy flowers each time, or use the same ones?
No, I'm a classy guy. I mean, I go to ShopRite. I get the cheap flowers.
Artificial flowers, just reuse them.
Yeah, the dead people. I think a guy was missing a shaving kit.
Mr. Johnson,
Mr. Johnson's flowers.
Kids' flowers. Yeah, no, I get your point, Jerry, and that's probably that's probably the nitpick that people would have. But again, a lot of it was.
But you don't care.
It's not like they. It's not like they were always face to
100%.
face, and they didn't catch him. They were always, Harrison Ford was maybe a step and a half ahead. It was never like, oh, they're always face to face and he gets away some way. He's the inept. Yeah. He's the inept marshal. It's just, they're trying to guess his next move for a fugitive that doesn't move like a fugitive. So
that's right.
They're kind of coming on information and doing the research, like with the telephone call, like, oh, that's an elevated train. It's like, how do you know? So they're having to kind of detect things, and like I think Eric said, it's kind of think outside the box a little bit and kind of really start to. Yeah, it's not going to be an easy capture because he's elusive, but he's elusive just by not trying to get away. It just
It just speaks to his tenacity and his desperation to prove his innocence. And, when you say I totally buy the fact that, he jumps off the spillway because what else is he going to do?
Well, not that he lives, though.
He's not going to get,
he did a Peter Pan right here, right off the spillway.
But they acknowledge it. That's the point. They acknowledge it in the movie. One guy in a million couldn't have made it, but he does. So we move on. We move on with the story. He just happened to survive. Did he think he was going to? Probably not. But that's the story we're telling here. So and you love it all the more for it because I think it's and I think that's the reason why Tommy Lee Gerard is like this motherfucker. Like he survived this, and every step of the way he's doing something.
Well, that's when he starts respecting him. That's when
even more ridiculous. And he's like, yeah, exactly.
He likes him. He respects him. I forgot which other movie we talked about where the adversaries liked each other. Right. Dean, they only share like 3 scenes together.
Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah, they're barely in. They're both in the movie a lot, but they're barely in it together.
Yeah, because what you're watching is one
chase.
One character is chasing the law, right? Tommy Lee Jones represents the law, but Harrison Ford represents justice. He wants justice for what happened, but Tommy Lee Jones wants to enforce the law. He only knows that this person escaped. I don't care. He was an inmate and he escaped. I need to capture him.
But he starts to understand the search for justice, I think.
Mm-hmm. You should redo the
poster. That's why he's not leaving anywhere.
You should redo the poster. One man chases law, the other man chases justice.
There you go.
That's on the other side of that T-shirt.
Oh, there you go.
I
and then Roland turns around and his wife lets him back in.
That's it.
Well, you know what we didn't do is we didn't roll through this cast, and I think we need to because a lot of interesting characters in here. Of course, we know that Harrison Ford plays Dr. Richard Kimble. We got Tommy Lee Jones as Sam Gerard, which we talked about. Stella Ward, who was kind of popular back then. I think there was that show Sisters.
Oh, I thought it was 30-something with Sisters.
30-something and Sisters, and so she was kind of really a pretty hot commodity. But again, she exists mostly in flashbacks, and she gets brutally mauled, and she got like third billing. Joey Pants as Cosmo Renfro.
He's awesome.
Say his last name, Dean.
Joey Pants. Joe Pantoliano.
Pantoliano.
Very, very well known from the Goonies, I'll say.
Got it.
Yes.
And Andreas Katsoulas as Frederick Sykes.
Who's 47 in this film, and that's odd to me since I'm going to be 47.
I handle security for all the top.
Okay, and he was in Ferris Bueller's Day One.
Then you've got Mr. Jerome Crabbe, and that's how you pronounce his name, Jerome Crabbe.
We call him Jerry Krabs.
As Charles Nichols, who I remember from the great Dolph Lundgren version of The Punisher. He was the bad guy in that.
Yeah.
He's a great bad guy.
And in this one, he's so, he's such a, Richard, Richard. And he gives him gives him some money.
In the brain? What is going on here?
He kind of sounds like Ren a little bit.
Yeah.
Because he sounds like Peter Lorre a little bit.
He does. Lorre, yeah.
He does. Vis-a-vis Ren from Ren and Stimpy. So it's
Ren and Stimpy.
It's spot on. Leave it alone.
You nailed it.
What about Brad Pitt?
Who was originally he's like the friend, and he's I'll give him money, and I'm protecting him. And when Gerard comes to interview, I wouldn't tell you anyway if I knew where he was. So you think, this guy's a pal.
He takes it to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, which could, if you're looking for a flaw, you might question why did that character do that? Why would he go so far to help him if he really actually wanted him dead?
He didn't think
wouldn't it have been easier just to drop the dime on him?
Because the only way that Kimble linked it was when he went to go see Jane Lynch, and they looked at that. He probably just didn't think he was going to get to that point, and he was going to blame Lance, and he was
she happens to see the date.
And she happens to see the date that it was after. But while you're on Dr. Nichols, how much money did he give him? Because you want to nitpick. He's got a sport jacket, a tweed sport jacket, new jeans, a button down.
You get that from the.
I'm just saying.
Hotel too, so
how much money? And he's paying rent. How much money did Nichols give him?
I don't know.
I think
not a lot, probably. Yeah. Listen. Dr.
That was
Nichols. He had a crush on. No one talks about the sub story here, but him and Kimble had an affair.
The scene that Christy's talking about is the scene where
U.S. Marshals.
This is after the parade.
Yeah,
and at that point, time has passed. I would say a few months have passed at this point, because Kimble's no longer in disguise. He's in the wide open. He's sitting in a bar drinking a beer. Anybody could have recognized him. He's doesn't have the hair dye anymore. Yes, he's wearing a tie. And
yes, just like where did he get the money?
Well, I think this is where the Julianne Moore part plays, because he's supposed to be staying with her.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay.
At this point, so I think that
Well, now we have plot holes, and you gotta.
No, but again, it goes back to what I said about like him. Just like at this point, he just doesn't give a shit anymore. He's so determined that at this point they didn't catch him. They still don't know where he is. I don't know where he is at this point. He's not in that dump of an apartment anymore. So I don't know where he's staying at this point.
He goes to the men's. He's at the hotel, the men's only hotel.
Probably, yeah. Who knows?
No, that's where he is.
I mean, I think the most plausible money thing is he went back to Mr. Johnson, cut off his air hose until he got his PIN number for his ATM card, and then emptied it out.
But here,
cashing Social Security checks.
We're joking about
redirecting them to the men's hotel.
We're joking about these little nitpicks that we have, and a testament to the film is I don't actually really care where he got the money from. I still love the movie. He looks good in the outfit. I'm okay with it. I overlook all the flaws. I just think I love the movie enough to. It's like a child. If you have a kid. they have all these little flaws, but you still love them.
Exactly. Let me get back. Let me get back to the cast. We stopped at Jerome Crabbe for some reason, and he just
we had
sparked
a
a whole
Mr.
other
Dr. Nichols
coming out of the tennis club.
started
Roland,
doing
remember the window
impersonations.
washer guys?
Yeah.
They just used to come onto your just like hijack your car and like.
Yeah.
No, I don't want it.
With
no,
the newspaper.
Yeah, with the newspaper.
No, thank you.
And the
Thank
old
you.
bottle of
No.
water.
Richard.
See, Richard.
I'm in the middle of this
You're
speech.
getting pretty desperate, Mr. Gerard.
So you should splice together The Fugitive with Casablanca
Yeah,
There you go.
and Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
got it all. Tom Wood as Marshal Noah Newman.
Yeah.
Noah
nice
was
hair
kind of
back
like the
then.
little
Worst
protege, like he was
hair
always kind of
ever.
protecting him.
No, Roland likes that hair.
I like his hair.
ponytail?
Long and curly.
Don't let him
and now he's
give
got
you shit about your
nothing.
ponytail.
Stupid
He's got nothing.
ponytail.
By the way, his hearing came back.
Yeah.
At one point, he's on the phone
Yeah.
on his right ear, and he's like, "Oh, don't give me any shit about you." All right, and then he loves
They're in the
Gerard
laundry.
again.
My pleasure, Sam.
After he gets his ear blown out, he gets a ponytail and dresses better. Did anyone notice that?
I
It
don't.
is weird that happens after he gets his ear blown out.
Wow.
Like like all of a sudden he's got style. He went to
Yeah.
I
think
Men's
he-
Warehouse.
I think he was faking. Well, not faking it, but I don't
No,
think.
I
it
think
was
he
as
thought
bad
he
as
was overplaying. Yeah, it's gonna
He's
go
overplaying. His my ear's shot.
You know what?
What's
Eric?
wrong with you? He's basically
I don't
saying like,
bargain.
yeah,
It
what the
wasn't part. It wasn't. Yeah, Eric. It wasn't point blank. He shot. He shot him like down the hall.
I got
That's
you,
right.
man.
It wasn't like
He
a.
originally
I got you,
whispered
He
at
was
man.
definitely rattled. He was definitely. He didn't want to admit. Hey, I basically
Gerard was
shit my
closer to
pants.
the gun than
Yeah.
Newman was.
So he's just basically telling him like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Like what's wrong
Yeah.
with you? Like kind of thing. That's what he was
I
trying to get across. I
don't-
think.
Bargain. So next up, we
Can
got
you hear me?
Daniel
Can you hear
Roebuck
me?
as Biggs. It's Hinky Sam. If they could dye the river green, why can't they dye it
Yeah.
blue the rest of the year?
Roebuck.
Daniel Roebuck. It's Hinky.
It's a valid question.
Big
It is
dog.
a question.
What about bullshit, Sam?
Yeah.
What about bullshit?
What about when he asked the other cop? What's the other cop's name? He's
Are
like,
you Irish
He's like,
too?
Sam, are you Irish? He goes, No, are you? He's like,
Yeah,
"No."
that's Johnny Lee Davenport as Marshall Henry. He's like no.
Now, if you've never seen it, it's because he's a black actor, and it's not common. But his reaction is perfect.
He's like, no,
He's
no.
like, no.
And then you got L. Scott Caldwell as Marshal Aaron Poole. Care to change your bullshit story? He might have gotten out. He might have gotten. You just told me.
What the hell is this?
Firearms here to clean you
Telling
up.
me he's part of the wreckage. Now you're telling me he got out.
He's a guy that he's
And
been in
then
stuff.
let's see, we got Ron Dean as Detective Kelly. Ron Dean was not the cop with the glasses and the mustache. Ron Dean was like the
short guy.
he always
Yeah,
plays
he's the
detective.
burly-
He was Wirtz. He
Yeah.
was Wirtz
The one that
in
was going to
Batman.
give
in Dark Knight Rises.
the liquor or whatever, the
Yeah.
bottle of scotch.
I'm personally
or something.
donating a
Yeah.
12-year bottle.
Yeah.
Of
Michaela,
It's a scumbag. He always plays cops, Ron Dean. And then of course, like we said, Jane Lynch in a very early role as Catherine. And then Nick Searcy, who's became a really big character actor. He was Sheriff Rollins. He was the guy in the beginning. Sheriff Rogers.
Yeah.
Rollins.
Did you say Julianne Moore?
We said her in the beginning, but you know what? She's gotten
Yeah.
enough credit. She got fourth credit in the film. We don't need to keep going back to her because her agent got paid.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, and Julianne Moore in a very small role.
So
as Dr. Ann Eastman.
So there was a couple. Celia Ward, and it would not have worked. Didn't want her character to get killed off because if there was going to be a Fugitive Part 2 or she wanted to be able to be in it and maximize it.
It could have been like Kenobi in Empire.
Yeah, I mean, you could do flashbacks all day long.
Richard, you have to look at things from a certain point of view.
And then Pantaleone, his
Pantaleone?
character,
What?
Pantaleone.
Yeah, you talked to me, huh?
Joey. Well, I just want to know if you could say it. I didn't say I could say it. Joey Pants was. I think he was supposed to. Tommy Lee Jones wanted him to get killed because he thought the character would die, like he should die, and he lost that battle. That's why he got to be
let's
U.S.
be
Marshals.
honest. Taking a steel girder in the face should have killed you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't be awake at the end, being like, "I'm taking a vacation."
Much like Eric was saying that there's the unshown story of Harrison Ford where he was living, I think that shot was meant to kill him because he took it right to the skull. And when they're wheeling him out, it's like a voiceover. Tell Sam Gerard I'm going to, and there's nothing on his face, and he took a girder to the skull.
Yeah, that's right.
His face looked like Arnold in Terminator. In Terminator, he was getting a girder in the face, and his skin peeled off. Mm-hmm. This guy's got nothing. He's got not even a bruise, not even a
you can't hurt Joey
laceration.
Pants. You can't take Joey Pants down. You can't take Joey Pants.
Joey Pants.
You can't take Joey's pants down.
He was already in the Matrix at that point.
Roland, can you explain?
You beat me to it.
You can't take Joey Pants down. That's
take his pants down. Okay.
Pants down. You can't take him down. Get your mind out of the gutter, Christy.
Sorry.
I've been there. I've been in the gutter.
Jerry,
for a while.
let me ask you a question.
Okay.
We make this film nowadays with CG and swinging across a canyon to get away from people. Would this film work as one of these big CGI extravaganzas?
No, because one of the things that, like, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Harrison Ford doesn't look like an action hero, and him dealing with all the actual stuff that he's got it just adds a little more realism to it. If there was more explosions and chases and stuff, like, he's not going to be a guy that can drive a car. Like, he's going to drive the ambulance how he drove the ambulance, just whipping around people. Even the way when he picks up the gun in the when they're in the dam, like, he doesn't hold the gun like an action hero. He holds it like a doctor that's trying to figure out who killed his wife.
Yeah.
And if you changed it to like a big action, if you focused more on the action, it wouldn't have been. And the fight at the end, he didn't fight like an action hero. He fought like a doctor that's at the end that figured it out and wants to beat the crap out of him.
Charles Nichols got the drop on him. Yeah, you never give up, Richard. You never give up.
I think it would not be. Part of what I liked about it was that it looked very.
My friend Richard is not well.
He's not well. Let me go take him out back and kick the shit out of him. Right.
To Jerry's point, I think that's what's. And no, I don't think I would agree with Jerry. It can't be remade. Why it's so likable, and Harrison Ford, particularly in all of his movies, even Indiana Jones, is. He's your everyman. Or maybe we talked about this in Indiana Jones. He's your everyman, like, action star. Like, you can, any one of you, don't take offense, could look and be like, oh, I could probably, like, because Harrison Ford's not doing anything so spectacular.
I always thought I could be a fugitive.
Like, spectacular.
Run away from
in his mannerisms or his motions. Like Jerry said, he picks up the gun. He doesn't pick it up like I've held a gun before and I know what I'm doing. Like, he picks it up like a doctor. He gives hope to people who might want to, go into a dam and pick up a gun and maybe become a fugitive. Like, I could do it. If Harrison Ford could do it, I could do it.
I think Roland, what it also set up is also like the next phase of his career in the 90s because he parlayed that into the Jack Ryan as just an analyst and Air Force One.
That nervousness.
He was the president. Get off my plane.
Yeah.
He had those moments where parlayed that, right? That.
Definitely. He pushed that into it, where even his volume and delivery changed.
Yeah.
Like during this decade, where he got into those moments of rage.
You find that man.
Range. Yeah, and he always does it, sort of. I didn't kill my wife, and stuff like that, and where he brings up his voice. And it defined him as an actor during that decade.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
He's so committed to the physicality, though. It's like every. Yeah. Even the simplest thing of like just by pointing a finger and making that face like like that.
That was just him getting
find that man, like that. And it's just that facial tics that he has, and
definitely
it's so. It may be. Some people might argue that maybe he's going a little too much into it.
I don't think so.
I'd say throws a punch or
right. Actually,
but I love it.
That Eric is pretty well acted, and I noticed again. I picked up something when he's being interrogated by the two cops, and like your wife was worth quite a bit, right? And and you're not going to be hurting financially, and he starts to say, do you think I killed my wife and I struck her, whatever, and if you notice. He's only ever gesticulating with one arm. Everything is with his left hand. His right arm which he says was the one-armed man, does not move in the chair. Everything he's doing is with this one hand, which is odd for Harrison Ford. Like it was just a very nuanced thing that I picked up on, where everything was just this one hand that he was working with when they were talking about a one-armed man that killed his wife. He wasn't going like this and flying off. He was doing everything with one hand. Even when, like he took everything. It was a very nuanced performance for him. Yeah. I thought, because he could have been that finger pointing guy throughout, and that kind of curmudgeon Harrison Ford that we see.
I didn't. That's really interesting. I didn't pick up on that. Did you know in that scene he wasn't given ahead of time the questions they were going to ask? So because they wanted his reaction to be more genuine. So, and that's where I think, Eric, I agree with you. Like, I think like those little manner, like, I don't think he's overacting at all. Like, I think, like, how else are you supposed to act when you're
in the moment?
Your wife just got brutally murdered. They're interrogating you, and now like your head's spinning. I thought it was a great scene.
The way the cop with the glasses was asking the questions at the end.
Like ramping questions.
Did he have, what color were his eyes?
What did he have?
Someone just killed my wife.
Boxers or briefs? What color were his shoes?
It was so routine, the questioning by that point. Harrison Ford actually said one of the reasons he wanted to do this film is because he wanted to grow a beard and a mustache for a role. Because Warner Brothers, every time we worked with Warner Brothers, they're like, people need to see your face. They need to see who like we want Harrison Ford's face. And one of the reasons he did this is he got to grow a beard for the role, although it didn't. But he looked kind of good. Like that kind of was a different.
He looked great.
Also, we're not.
I thought he looked great.
Every time we see Harrison Ford, we're used to the Han Solo, Indiana Jones visage.
He looked great too.
Of Harrison Ford. So putting the beard on him also gave another dimension to the character as this doctor. And
It also, for the purposes of the film, they didn't have to do a mask or a disguise. He just had to shave the beard and then dye his hair. So it was also for that, because, like you said, Dean, like when they're like, we hire Harrison Ford for the face. Well, you'll get the face, but you're first going to get. But I thought he looked amazing with a beard. He grows a good beard.
And actually,
it's a full beard.
If you notice, when he's being interrogated, he's kind of like fiddling with his beard. And there's a couple of times during the film when he instinctively goes to do that, but he has no facial hair. If you notice, like he carried that tick over that he was doing that when he was getting interrogated. He was kind of like roughly, like kind of the front part. And there's a couple of scenes when gets kind of nervous. He kind of goes to it, but there's no facial hair there. So again,
everything is so well, like you would look at it and say this is like nothing, but everything is so well planned. Like you pointed out, planned and choreographed every little
Scotch and baling wire, basically. Except for the train scene was planned out. That was like I said in the beginning, $1 million.
One take. One take.
Yeah, and they used real trains.
Real trains.
You can go visit it. It's still there.
Yeah, there's some wreckage still there, and
that's tourist site.
Like that back then, it had to be done either practically or with miniatures. Yeah. Nowadays, if you remade this, they would have a spectacular train. It would be 50 cars long, and you don't need that. Like you just need the tension of what's happening, not the scope of what's happening. Right? You just needed to know that there's a train coming, and I'm trying to get this guy out of it. And
it's a great sequence.
Yeah.
That train.
And that part where he's standing in the window of the bus,
where he jumps out.
That is real. I mean, he actually did that stunt. I mean, he did a lot of the stunts himself, but when he just jumped, I mean, that thing, smacks into that. He really did that jump. I don't know about the part.
He really got hurt, which is why he's limping throughout all of it.
I don't know when he's like running in front of the train. I think that's a plate, obviously. There
was some green screen. But Dean, to your point, I think it takes away from the film when they use all these special effects now. Like the thing about The Fugitive with that train scene is, if it were CGI or so grandiose, it kind of at times just it's too much. It's nicer when it's
distracting.
Yeah, and actually, if they did it nowadays, Roland, they could dye the river with CG.
Yeah, they could make a new color and it'd be rainbow. It doesn't matter. I think that falls in line where even the practicality of the stunts and like you pointed out that they're all in Chicago. It's almost like a maze where everything's so tight and everything's in one space. And even the effects now are really tight. They're in one space. It's very controlled. Mm-hmm. It's one little world where all this is happening. It doesn't matter what happens in the rest of the world. this is this world where it's happening. So it plays so true to the storytelling. And I think that's and even I think one thing about Harrison Ford is we're talking about him in his style. I think the same thing with Tommy Lee Jones, but to a greater extent, Harrison Ford. He's a good-looking man, but he doesn't mind not looking good-looking. Yeah. So he'll do stuff.
He's not vain.
He's not a vain person. Where I think the other actors that might have taken that role, vanity plays a part of it sometimes.
Well, Ford will tell you. He'll be the first one to tell you, like, hit me.
Yeah.
When he's fighting with somebody, he's like, hit me in the nose. I don't care. Hit me. I want to. That's real blood. That whatever he gets. He's committed, man. That's
so you gotta. I respect it at least. Not, I don't want to say you got to respect that, but I respect that as an actor and storyteller.
He had the harder role too because he didn't say much because he didn't have a lot of interactions with people. Right. Whereas Tommy Lee Jones was interviewing the cops, interviewing Dr. Nichols. He had his team, and there's all this banter going back and forth. So Tommy Lee Jones had a lot more to chew on.
And he gets to play with humor too.
Yeah, right.
Which is important key. There's a lot of those humor shots.
Newman, he never does.
What are you doing? I'm thinking. Why don't you think me up one of those donuts with the circles on it?
A cup of coffee in it.
You're thinking.
I want to come back like you. I mean, good looking and happy, or whatever.
Happy and handsome.
Happy and handsome.
That's such a
There are some good lines.
Yeah, it is.
Really funny lines.
There's an ensemble going. So
it is. It works really, really well.
Yeah, it's good chemistry.
Yeah, great chemistry.
So. Very much so.
It was great chemistry, just because, and the way Gerard was directing people, like Biggs, Newman, get on this, and this, and Cosmo, come with me, and you really felt like these guys had worked together as a unit, especially as soon as they. What the funny thing is, I was laughing is when they first get to the train scene, there's 5 of them in one fucking car. Yeah. Like nowadays, it'd be like, everyone have their own SUV. These guys are piled into one sedan.
They come off like a team, and Gerard is the leader.
Yeah.
And they're all comfortable with him being the leader. Yeah. Like they are fine with it. And you have the Joey Pants is like, I guess, second, and he knows it, but he knows he can do things. And then you have was it Newman, the guy with the hair? He knew he was the newbie. He knew.
Yeah, he kind of protected him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't get a sense of any hierarchy after Gerard.
No, Cosmo was definitely second.
Yeah, but they don't. Cosmo's
big line. Big dog.
Big dog.
Cosmo's big line was pretty much about the whole movie. Yes, Sam. Yeah, Sam. Like,
say hi to your mom for me.
Yeah,
why are you yelling at me? What is it? Yell at him. There you go. There, boy.
Yes, Cosmo. He's dirty. Yeah, Sam.
Yes, Sam. He is.
All he did was he was like confirmation bias for Gerard. Like he would just always confirm things for him. Yes, Sam.
That's pretty funny.
Leave Joey Pants alone.
No, he's great, but it was just like again, each one of these characters kind of filled in a slot that made it like this ragtag crew, but working as a unit. They were like, he's on the east thing, he's on the west side. Like they all were. Once it was go time, they all like worked at.
It goes back to like TV and and film, say in the 40s or 50s, where you had that Brooklyn unit, where like you had the army unit with everybody. They always had a guy from Brooklyn. Who was like, hey, I smoke cigars. How you doing? And you had the kid from Arkansas, but they worked together as a team. And I think that's, again, like I mentioned before, they took that TV sort of environment and they really held true to it. And they built an ensemble like that, where everybody had a very distinct character, not doing too much sometimes, but they moved the story along. They worked; it was very cohesive. Yeah. And if, like you said,
it's so fun.
They look like they always worked. They've always been working together. Yeah. They know how they like things, and that's it. And they can even call out the boss. And it's a better CSI than CSI. It was CSI Chicago. Yeah. And it's just a better one.
It really was, and it's and when a movie fires on all cylinders like this, it's fun to watch. Like you said, you'll forgive some of the stretches. Even, like I said, even some of the stretches aren't that stretchy. But if you really wanted to go there, you're going to forgive it because the movie's got that heart. And it's not trying to pull one over. They're not trying to pull one over on you. You get to unravel the great thing about this is the only thing you don't know is that Harrison Ford didn't do it, but everything else you get to discover with him. You get to discover about the one-armed man, then about the drug, and then about Charles Nichols and Lentz and all this.
Very detailed.
At the end, everything just kind of unravels.
It forces the audience too to actually
Pay
do
attention.
some work. You pay attention. You miss something, you could be totally lost, you know, because of the way they set things up. Like you mentioned before about the sort of red herring scene where he's, you know, you think that he's going after Kimble, but it's actually the other guy. So you really got to like really just keep your attention there.
Sitting movie. You watch it in one sit down.
And it's got such a resolution. At the
you forget that they talked about the drug. Like you think it's just a fugitive thing, and then you forget there's a whole other underlying story of why
they introduced in the first scene. They actually
McGregor could bring you Provasic.
Yeah.
Did you say Ewan McGregor? Did you just say Ewan McGregor?
Not Ewan. Then it would be hello there.
Which I believe are names of the producers.
Devlin McGregor. There you go.
Yeah, there's a Devlin and McGregor.
What I was going to say is, and it also's got a great resolution, right? After like Kimble hits Charles Nichols with the pipe, and Harrison Ford says, "I didn't kill my wife," and then Tommy Lee Jones says, "I know it."
Yeah,
I know it. He didn't say, "I know." He goes, "I know it." You know, like. You know, that whole, like, you get a really nice call back to it. You don't even realize almost, but what it does is it brings Tommy Lee, it brings Gerard full circle.
Yeah.
That there's more to than just black and white. Someone's a fugitive. They must be a bad person. They have to be captured, which is true.
Yeah.
But then sometimes sometimes you have to color outside the lines or be open to other possibilities, you know. And,
even like a couple scenes before that, before they get to the hotel, and Gerard's like, "What did he do? Shoot a cop?"
Yeah.
And he's like, he looks disappointed in that. He's not like, "Oh, yeah, we got to get this bastard." No, he's like because he's figured it out. He knows. So you see that change, and even then, it's like you don't
like sympathetic to him, like, "Oh,
right,
man.
Exactly. Oh, don't tell me he messed up, you know." So. Yeah, that's
it's like Newman. Dr. Nichols lied to me.
Go get him.
It's like, go get him.
I love that. He's like in the shit, but then like when he he needs something, it's like go get it.
Go get him.
He sits back in his chair and he's
he lied to me. He lied to me. Go get him.
Yeah.
Sitting there reading how much Devlin McGregor's bringing in a year.
Billions.
This company's a monster.
Company's a monster.
$7 billion. Company's a monster.
I like one of my. This is just a small thing. Is the very first time when Gerard and Cosmo go to confront Dr. Nichols, like when he's at a convention or wherever, and some guy walks up to Nichols like, "Hey, how are you?"
Yeah.
Hey,
I do love that.
And then they come up and put the picture in his face, like, "Oh, would you please excuse me? I've never seen that man before." This guy right here.
And Renfro's like, "Enjoy the rest of the
and then Gerard goes to Columbo. It's like, "Oh, Dr. Nichols, one more question."
Whoa.
One more time. Just one more thing. Yeah.
Do you see this guy on the right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's so
never
well
seen
played.
this guy.
It's so well played. And
even the way he hits the picture.
Yeah.
Something about his mannerisms and stuff.
Right.
No, I've never seen that man before in my life.
And then he just smiles. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the convention.
And Bones, they go to see the Bones. It's like, like, what did he say?
I haven't seen Dr. Kimble. That's not what
I asked you.
It's like, oh, got me.
He got his hearing back, and then he became a little sassy.
Right? Like, he's got that sass.
Did Bones live in that dungeon? Because
he's
for
like,
him to be like, "Hey, whatever happened with your wife? Have you not seen the newspapers or anything?"
I know. That was like, how'd that thing work out for you?
How'd that thing with your wife work out?
Well, Harrison Ford, even his reaction is almost like,
well, Bones,
it's not over. Like
her skull is still crushed in, but I'm all right.
Not over yet. Still going. And
so we at that point
now. In fact, now you're an accessory.
Yeah.
I'll see you in jail, partner. Yeah.
So a lot of favorite scenes.
Favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Jerry, what do you got?
Oh boy.
What do you got?
For some odd reason, one of my favorite scenes is when he diagnoses the kid, when he has the kid in the elevator.
Joel?
Read the film.
And
Read the
he's like, like he's acting like a doctor because he's running for his life. He's got everything going down, but he can't let this kid go. And just the way he's still like saving the kid. And then he goes back to Fugitive when he's like, yeah, doctor, they sent me down here with this kid.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, you see a lot of where he really can't, he's a doctor and he's got to save people. And it's just, I don't know why. The way he looks at the way he rewrites everything is like, what are you, a football player? Like for some reason that whole scene just set a
because that's the way a doctor talks to a kid. Like, they, where's your mom?
Exactly. Yeah.
But the subtlety, again, what Eric was talking about at the end of that scene, that he has that smirk because he felt like a doctor again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's you're looking at him, you're like, he's a good man. Like you just, and that just in that smirk, you get that.
Yeah. All right, Christy, over to you.
Yep.
Well, I have like a few, so I'm hoping somebody else will. Okay.
Over to you. You can wait.
Can I give all of them or I have to pick one?
One. Maybe later, if you're good.
What is your third favorite?
Yeah, what's your third favorite scene?
So I guess I'll go with the interrogation scene. I really like the interrogation scene
In the beginning?
I think Harrison Ford does a very good job in that scene. And I think it sets up the what, like, the journey he's going to have to go on. Because again, I know it's an action film, but if you put yourself in the shoes of Dr. Richard Kimble, he literally just found this man, brutally murdered his wife, fought with a man. The man got away. Now he's in a police station. Like, this guy's having a shitty night. And he just went to have some wine with his wife.
Like, that had to throw you.
There was rose petals on the floor.
But you know what did him in is that recording that she made. She's like, Richard.
Yes.
Yeah, why? Like, nothing for nothing.
What was she doing there?
Richard.
Was she calling him?
Yeah, she was saying, Richard, he's trying to kill me, but they read it as Richard is trying to kill me.
Yeah,
she's calling out to like,
it doesn't
trying to kill me, Richard. Like,
by the way, how good are his lawyers?
Not good.
They're horrible.
Not good at all.
Not that great. But
Nichols hired them for him.
Richard, I'll pay you lawyers money. You can't find the guy. You can't find the guy. Richard, I have lawyers at the tennis club, Richard.
Yeah, like the lawyer. We get like two scenes of the lawyer.
The lawyer turned out to be the squeegee guy that Nichols. That's him Mr. Jones bombed.
That's where it all comes around.
No, thank you. No, Roland, what do you got?
I'll tell you, there's a lot of great scenes, and I love it all. But I love when they both meet in the spillway when he says, "I don't." care.
That was one of my other ones. Thank you.
I just love that moment because they first see each other. It's so real and so honest. And there's a panic moment from Harrison Ford. There's almost like I gotta bring you in from Tommy Lee Jones, and they just have that little bit of dialogue, and from then it's not going to be a simple run and catch sort of scenario. Yeah. And it just lays it out for me. So that was always the scene that always stuck the most to me. It's coming out through a whole new tube. Yeah. So it's almost like a baptism by he's being born again right out of right out the canal.
I think the set like he kind of in that scene he kind of has his hands up and he turns and he like bends down to jump. And then he jumps and does a dive, but then the next scene is like a body like falls.
Yeah, just throwing. Yeah.
The body is just like falling. Then almost it's against the wall, like sliding.
Mr. Jones never got enough credit. That's why he's in the hospital.
Wow, you got some rash there. Eric, what do you got?
Well, one scene we haven't really talked about, which is a masterclass of just great choreo. I mean, just the way it was set up was the parade. Yeah. And that was real. That was a real parade. There was no extras. Everybody was in that scene. They took a couple of handhelds and they actually contacted the people that put the parade together. And they said, we'd like to shoot a couple of scenes. He goes, as long as you don't disrupt the parade, we're fine with it. So Harrison Ford, that whole bit with him putting the hat on and taking off his coat was all done.
What'd you do with the coat though?
Was all done on the fly. Yeah. And there's this like, where's Waldo kind of thing. Like, he's like, he kind of just slips out of sight and you're looking for him. Like, And then Tommy Lee Jones is like right behind him, but you don't notice him right away.
Yeah, until he walks
so well done.
Yeah,
so well done.
You know what? Even more amazing, a second film was shot called Blink the same day in the same parade. So 2 films were shot simultaneously during that parade. Oddly enough,
was that Madeline Stowe?
No, not that Blink.
Okay.
I'll go Eric one better. The scene before with the staircase.
Oh yeah,
it's just a great like that. I like that cat and mouse because Tommy Lee Jones catches a glimpse of Kimble and he looks back, and he kind of and when they get to the lower corridor, and Harrison Ford is just so cool. Officer, there's a man back there with a trench coat waving a gun and shouting, and Tommy Lee Jones comes barreling around like ranting and raving, and it just like it's those small things. Like he didn't set up garbage cans from the trip over. He didn't set up a Home Alone traps. It was just like just using like the police around him saying, there's a guy, this guy ranting and raving. He's waving
thinking on your feet, man. That is, he's smart.
I never would have thought of that.
And when he runs through the gate and it closes and he's, firing at the bulletproof glass. It's just, that was a great,
Harrison Ford's reaction. Harrison Ford's reaction when he's getting shot at.
It's always like,
he's like, "Oh God, this isn't hitting me." Like his facial expression.
It's the same reaction as Indy when he didn't get shot.
Exactly. You see Indiana Jones. I was just going to say that, and he, much like Indiana Jones, like his arm gets stuck in the elevator. Like when at the last scene with Nichols, his foot gets stuck. Like he is very Indiana Jones-ish. A lot of these little things, but it's great.
Yeah. Christy, do you have another one?
Oh, I just I don't think it should go. The scene when he breaks into Sykes' house and calls. Oh, so Sykes. when they're like, Gerard, we got a Richard Kimble. He's like, I've got another Richard Kimble, and he gets on the phone and he's like, do you remember what I said to you? And then he's, so you have that going on there with them. Then you have him
right now.
You have Harrison Ford. What he's doing in that scene, and then even the extension of when Sykes comes home and they're all there, and he's like, does he have any reason to be here? He's like, well, I got one arm, of course, I must have killed his wife.
But verified. So it's
a long scene, and a lot happens, but that whole whole segment,
clothes like hanging up, like hanging from the ceilings, and
he's going through checks. They're all like $912. Like, dude, you can't live in a better apartment and get a closet.
It looked like a dry cleaner. The way they were like all the shirts were hanging up.
He's like, I hope nothing's missing. I hope a lot's missing.
Wait! I marked him. I got him.
Move to the door, Doc. He's so great, Sykes.
He died.
What is this?
That scene in the train. Why doesn't the cop be like, "I saw Richard Kimble, but now there's another guy standing right."
Yeah, that's one of my holes.
When cop gets shot, there's other people in the train.
Yeah, but they flee.
Yeah.
No, they're ducked down. Yeah. Someone else had to see that Kimble didn't shoot him.
Yeah, the guy that ratted out Kimble.
He thought that this guy was trying to do him. He didn't know the nature of what was going on, right?
And still, being a doctor, checks for a pulse.
15 people
before he takes. But that's
the thing. It's like it speaks to the how crappy these guys are. Yeah. They just assumed that it was Kimble, right?
They got those
in that scuffle. They just did. Oh, Kimble. Yeah, he killed a cop. So now we're that's. He's guilty. So that's just one more thing that
Eric, be careful what you say about the Chicago PD.
Yeah. They're listening to this.
I guess I'm not going to Chicago anytime
soon.
Yeah.
Dennis DeYoung will protect us when we go to Chicago. So I think that's going to do it for The Fugitive. If you haven't seen this film,
shame on you.
Yeah.
Wake up.
Yeah, seriously, what's wrong with you?
Wake up. I handle security for all the top executives.
And I live in a shitbox.
15 people verified.
No, I told you I don't know him.
And Mr. Rooney will vouch for me.
He's so good. Sykes is such a good character. He's so... He had like this weird, like mop-headed mop of hair, and then a year later,
Greg Brady grew up and lost an arm.
Lost an arm. Didn't mean he didn't need to lose his barber.
Yeah, he lost the barber.
Well,
He
he
lost
lost
it.
his
He lost
half of his head.
Dialing hand to dial the barber.
He lost it in the line of duty.
Most of the line through his tomatoes dropped a little bit further, voice got deeper. It's all.
So much to chew on in this film. So hopefully you'll see it. It is available to stream and to rent and on different platforms. So choose whichever one you want.
Well, it's magnanimous of you.
Yeah, thank you. Big word. Jerry, thank you for joining us. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
Always Roland.
Always a pleasure.
The Ready Speaker Podcast. Go check him out on YouTube. He's got some great content there as well. Christy, thank you. And thank you for the bonus extra scene.
You're very welcome.
I told you I don't know him.
Thank you for your Ferris Bueller impersonation of Sykes. Alan Ruck would be very happy.
That's
You
Alan
sounded
Ruck
like the
is,
Cowardly Lion.
pardon my French, but you're an asshole. That's Alan Ruck. Pardon my French, but you're an asshole. I want my daughter outside in front.
I like how he raises
minutes.
in his seat when he does it, by the way.
Why'd you kick me? Where's your brains? Why'd you kick me? Where's your brains?
So Ferris
doesn't want
Bueller's
to
not
be Ferris
coming up.
Bueller, see?
Why?
It's not his favorite Hughes film. Right?
Who, me? Oh, I can't stand that movie.
See?
Really?
I despise Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
You did not like a lot of references to Ferris Bueller's Day Off in this movie.
Oh, I don't care about that. I just hate the movie.
Have you always hated it?
Yeah.
Like from the get-go?
Yeah. I mean, it's designed. You're designed to hate Matthew Broderick. I just can't fucking stand.
So now there's two reasons you can't go to Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because you might run into Abe Froman, the Sausage King.
Yeah.
So
that's for another time.
We'll let Eric cool down until our next episode, which won't be Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So we won't have to worry about that. Blood pressures will be normalized by both of us. But thank you guys for joining us as always. New episodes drop every Thursday. Thank you to the round robin of guests as well. And of course, for Eric, this has been Dean asking you to please be kind. Go ahead and rewind.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Eric Kuber. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 podcast and on Twitter at 3324p to join the conversation.